Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today, as you can see, I'm in a different filming location. So I'm actually filming in my kitchen today because my kitchen has a really big table, so I have like everything laid out. I'm filming a video looking through my first ever GCSE art book. So if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, then you may not know that I actually have done GCSE art and I'm taking A-level arts currently. And I did do a video a few weeks ago reacting to my Year 9 art book, and I really enjoyed filming it and looking through my work, so I thought it would be fun to look through one of my GCSE books. So I am going to turn this into a series because I actually did 4 books for GCSE. I did 2 in Year 10 and 2 in Year 11. So I'm going to be looking through all 4 over the course of however long. But today I've got my first ever Unit 1 GCSE art book. So this has 2 topics in it. It is obviously the first book that I did for GCSE, so it's by far the worst. I don't know how else to put it, but yeah, it's not the best. It's definitely the starting point, but I still wanted to include it anyway because if I'm going to turn this into a series, I want you guys to be able to see the progression from this book to my last book, which was my exam book in Year 11. Yeah, I did actually end up getting full marks for my GCSE art, so I can't remember how many UMS it was, but yeah, I got full marks, which was an A star, so I was absolutely over the moon. This book definitely does not reflect that A star because this book is by far the worst. It's definitely the worst, but hopefully you'll be able to see the progression throughout the other videos. So yeah, without further ado, let's take a look into my GCSE Unit 1 sketchbook. So this is my title page. This book actually contains 2 topics. So the first topic is actually the Crucible, which you will see on the next page, and that was our school play. And the second topic, which is in the second half of the book, was identity. So that is why the top of the page says identity. So I used charcoal for the face underneath, and then I overlaid it with some acetate, and some acrylic paint mixed with PVA glue, which gives it quite a cool texture and almost like a marbled effect. And then the next page you can see that our focus was on the Crucible. The Crucible is actually a play. It's quite a sinister play about like witches and getting possessed and stuff like that. And that was our school production. So all of the GCSE art students and the art graphic students had to come up with a poster idea. So this sort of page was a starting point. It was so we could research what the play was about and what sort of themes were involved. And then on this page we drew lots of different objects that linked to the play in some sort of way. So I used fine liner for all of the things on this page and then just stuck some quotes from the play. And then on the next page we had to choose a poster to analyse in more detail. So I chose to do this poster and we just wrote loads of stuff about it. So what it meant, what the colour might symbolise, basically just an image analysis. And then on the other side of the page we had to draw sections from the poster in lots of different media. It was a really good way of being able to experiment with different media that maybe I hadn't used before. So for instance, this one is the sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like black ink, and when you scratch into it, it shows silver underneath. So that was something that I enjoyed doing because I had never done it before. And then this page is just an inspiration page with loads of different images that linked to the theme to help me with my final idea. And then I've got some artist links that linked to themes from the Crucible, and I did an artist recreation on this page of this image by this artist. So it was not my own idea, it was working from an artist. So for the background I used this really cool laminated wood stuff that my teacher happened to have, so that worked quite well to create the same sort of effect. And then I just used fine liner and acrylic paint for that piece. I remember actually being really proud of this piece when I finished it, but looking at it now, compared to the stuff that I do now, it's actually pretty bad. So then we had to make a voodoo doll and take some photos of it. So those are my photos. The actual voodoo doll is at school, so I can't show you the real thing. But then we also did a chalk study. Chalk is something that I have never been very good at. It's not my strong point, but it's something that I'm trying to get better at and focusing on a little bit more. Well, I'm going to try and focus a bit more on it now. And then I did another artist recreation, so I recreated that image. So I first did it in black and white, and then I overlaid some colour over the top to see how the mood would change and things like that. Then I made another voodoo doll because I think I quite liked making the voodoo doll, so I took some more photos and I made a slightly bigger one, and then I did a chalk piece of the bigger one. I actually tried to throw this piece in the bin because I hated it so much, but my teacher said I wasn't allowed, so it is in here anyway, but I absolutely hate it. Oh, I remember doing this piece. I don't like that one very much, but this piece took me absolutely hours. It must have taken me a good 3 or 4 hours, and I did it all in one night. And when I finished it, I was so happy and I was so like proud of this piece. And then I recreated it. So these are photos of me, and I inverted it so it would look more like the artist. And yeah, I am still quite pleased with how that came out actually. So yeah, I don't really know why I did it. I think that was just extra work because I fancied it. And then we started playing around with layout ideas for our poster. So I did some different ideas here and like found some different fonts. And then I have some more layouts. So by this time I had picked my final image, so I knew that I wanted to do this, something like this with this face. So I played around a bit with different layouts and different background colours. And then I created my poster, which is again at school. You can sort of see what it looks like here. So it was an acrylic piece, and then I used white pencil for the title down the bottom, and I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. It was my first ever proper acrylic piece that I had done, because I'd only done like small paintings, but this is my first proper thing that I'd done, and yeah, I was quite happy with how it turned out. So now we move into the identity topic. So this is the second half of the book, and this is just a title page just so the examiner knew that it was going into a new topic. So this piece I used colour pencil, and this one I used watercolour, fine liner and a little bit of colour pencil, I think just for the darkest bits. I still actually really like this piece. This was one of my favourite pieces I think to date that I have ever done. I just loved all the colours and stuff. So this is just a mind map, and I just did like a little biro study there and put some feathers over the top for the bird. So it was basically just a starting point to throw around some ideas, see what sort of things I could link to identity. Then we did some unsighted sketches and just some little biro studies. So this one was unsighted. As you can tell, I really didn't know what was going on. This one was with my opposite hand, and this was with 2 fine liners stuck together. This was actually really hard because the fine liners kept on like twisting and stuff, and it was just not good. No, it's not fine liners, it's biro, sorry. And then around the outside I've just got some artist links. So I've got the teddy bears because that was meant to be a teddy bear, and then I've got some ones of mannequins and some guitar pieces. And then on this page we did some box work. So this is something we do quite often throughout our school in our art classes, which is basically just a collection of different paintings, drawings, biro studies, chalk, oil pastel, whatever you want, that link to your theme. So as you can see, I've just got a bunch of different things. So I've got Iron Man, I actually really liked doing that. That was colour pencil, and just loads of different images that linked to identity. As you can see, I was a massive fan of PLL, even back in year 10. And then we've got some more chalk studies and artist links. And I just overlaid some words that I associated with skulls. And here we had to do, over the Easter holidays, I think it was, we had to do this page, which was basically just loads of different portraits and write about the emotions and the feelings that you can see in all of the pieces. So as you can see, I did quite a range of different pieces. And then we had to do a forgery as well. So I chose to do a forgery of this photograph. So I recreated the photograph, which is there. As you can see, I was not the best at pencil. It's quite grainy because at the time I didn't really know how to use pencil properly. Then I overlaid some acetate with different colours because I wanted to mix it up a bit and see how it looked as more of a pop art piece. And then I just saw that this paper cut looked quite cool, so that's what I did. And then I did another paper cut of Twiggy. So this was a forgery of this one. Then we had to do a masks page as well. Obviously, when you think of identity, for me, masks does spring to mind. So we had to get some different masks and write about them. Then we had to draw our own mask, and it's sort of like a jigsaw. So we had to do a self-portrait underneath and then cut the mask so that you could, you know, mix and match how much of the mask you were wearing and stuff. So this is meant to be me underneath, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of pencil. Pencil and chalk were my two things I absolutely hated. So then here we had to do some more unsighted drawings of ourselves. So these are self-portraits, but they are unsighted, so, you know, they're meant to be a bit weird. And then we did a who am I page. So obviously with identity, you're sort of thinking about your own identity and yourself as a person. This was probably my favourite thing out of my whole book. I loved collecting all the images, and then underneath this we had to write a bit about ourselves, like what we are as a person and stuff, but I'm not going to show that because it is quite personal. And then I just did this extra piece because I really liked using biro and I felt like it, I suppose. And then underneath we did our fear, and we had to draw something that was to do with our fear and take a photo of ourselves looking scared and then rip it up and put a load of words over. So yeah. Then we visited a gallery. So I visited the Tate, which is on this side, and the Fitzwilliam Museum, which is on that side. And I did a couple of forgeries. Yeah, I think we just visited it to find some pieces that linked in with identity. Then I've got an inspiration page, all to do with identity, so different images that I thought linked in. I've just done a little paper cut in the corner as well. And then I have my final idea. I actually changed my final idea, but I'll show that in a minute. So my original final idea was going to be about hidden emotions, and I've written all about that there. So I found some artist links, but I actually decided to change my final idea, and then I changed it to the idea of memories and photos and how much a photo can be sentimental and how big of an impact cameras can have and things like that. So this was a recreation that I took photos of my sister, which was this one. And then I've got an inspiration page of everything to do with photos and memories and cameras. And I've got another artist recreation. She probably wouldn't really want me showing these photos, but you know, whatever. So these are recreations of this image here. Maddie was quite good at that because she is quite a sassy person, so to be fair, it did work quite well. Then I've got an image analysis where I picked an image that was to do with my final idea and wrote loads of stuff about it. And I recreated the image in lots of different medias to see how the effect changed, I suppose. Then here I did some pencil studies. So I actually really hate using pencil. I still don't like using pencil. This one was probably the best pencil study that I ever did in GCSE, and that is a pencil study of my sister. Then I started taking photos of what I wanted to use for my final piece. So I then took some sections from images and just practiced them in different medias. And then I chose my final photo, which was this one, and I changed the colour to see what sort of thing I liked. Then I tested out different techniques to decide what I wanted to use. So I tried like watercolour, colour pencil, loads of different things. And I did a clay piece as well. I basically did a clay piece of my Polaroid camera. Then I tested out different background ideas and different compositions as well. So I tested out different colours, and I decided on doing quite a normal one. So I just used realistic colours, and I kept a white background. So this page helped me to decide what I wanted to do. And then I did a artist style page. So I chose Stephen Bennett because I really liked how bright the colours were in his pieces of work, and you'll see how that relates a bit later. So this is the piece that I did in the style of Stephen Bennett's work. So I changed the colours a bit, they're a lot less realistic. And then on this side, I did realistic colours so I could compare the two and see what colour scheme I wanted to use for my final piece. And here I did some cyanotype. So my cyanotype never really turned out very well, but basically you take a photo, and I don't really know how to explain it. If you want a whole video on it, then I can do it, but it basically just like looks pretty cool. And then this was something that I did during the exam. So we had to do a composition study, and then throughout the exam we had to take photos of the progress of our work. And then this is the last piece. Oh no, it's not the last piece of work actually, but here's a photo of my final piece. The photo didn't come out very well. I don't know whether you can see, but there's like weird green marks, so the photo didn't come out that well. And then people in the class had to write some comments on our work. And I used acrylic for my final piece, and then I did an evaluation. And the last thing I did was a follow-on piece. So I actually wasn't very happy with how my final piece turned out, so I decided to do an extra one over the summer holidays. And this time I chose to make it more pop arty and keep it relatively simple, but in the hope that it would be effective as well. So I used acrylic paint again, but I decided to play around a bit with like the actual camera instead of doing a person, because by this point I had decided that I did not like doing portraits, and I much prefer how this piece turned out to my other one. I think it's quite fun and I really like the colours. And that is everything. So I almost finished my book. I was so close to finishing this book, but yeah, that is everything. So I hope you enjoyed looking through my art book. If you did, remember to give this a big thumbs up if you would like to see more, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!